Hi everyone, my name's Izzy. I did my placement in the SU Sport Office, so I've got quite a good relationship with both staff and students. I'm currently the SU Sport Officer. I'm not. Say what? I'm currently chair of sports exec. Sorry. So I do a lot of behind the scenes work on SU Sport and the issues, and I would just like to get you more value for your money. I think since there's been more students, we haven't had an increased budget from the university, so that's a main thing that I'd like to tackle because it's just fun.
Cool. Okay, so hi everyone. I'm Will. I'm your current SU Sport Officer. Actually, your current SU Sport Officer. I'm running for re-election. I think we've had a pretty good year as SU Sport. We've invested more money in bucks and recreational sport than we ever have before. We've secured a gym expansion, mental health, tackling that through the mental health charter from the Sport and Recreational Alliance. I think that I can carry on leading us forward without having to learn the role, working all over the summer to make lives better for you guys as committees, as well as all of your members. So that's why I'd like to rerun. And I love Bath. I just don't want to leave.
Okay, so the first question for you is, part of the sport officer role is dedicated to organising social and recreational sports which anyone can get involved in. There's already quite a broad offer. How do you plan to expand the recreational sport offer given the restrictions on facilities?
Okay, so a big part of my placement year was recreational sport. In terms of the social sport that we offer, I think a big part of it is just getting it out there. So a lot of people don't know that it exists or don't know how to get involved. So I'd use a lot of it to actually advertise it student-wide, because a lot of people that will want to get involved with that will be non-current sports students. So getting it out through hall reps, that sort of thing. And what was the other question?
So, given the restrictions on facilities that we've got, so both of you spoken about, sort of making it, bigger and better, but how?
So another part on my placement, I work to get some alumni funding for off-campus facilities, which obviously isn't ideal, but a lot of second and third years that live in Oldfield, using the space in Oldfield to their advantage, so they don't have to come all the way up to uni. Definitely put on more recreational sessions there that you can just go to as and when.
So there's actually the 330 Club is a Sport England project that was funded for 3 years and will be ending at the end of this year. So I don't know what your plans were to carry that on. But I have a club development scheme in my manifesto they're designed to incentivise clubs to offer social sport. I think it's important that we get more clubs more out there and give them an opportunity to deliver that. So as part of the cost of sport analysis, proving that sport is worthwhile, getting that money from the university that we haven't had over the last few years, and then giving that out to clubs to incentivise them to provide social sport opportunities. The lack of facilities is a problem. As Izzy said, the exec and her last year worked towards getting alumni funding. I think that's a good step. We've ensured that for the next 3 years, once that alumni funding goes away in December, that there's facilities that are being provided by money from the sports department that I spoke about earlier, that's been given to recreational sport, so we can use that. And the other thing is making the arguments that actually there's students' demand on facilities in the STV is really high, and there's a lot of community clubs in there. So once we've looked at who's using what and why and what the benefit is to our students, we can look at whether we can remove some of those community clubs if we can make that argument.
Okay, this year there have been reports of teams struggling to get to matches as they're unable to use the main buses or coaches. How will you combat this?
I can go first if you want. Sure. Okay. So reports. So there's a policy in place that is that any team under 12 players or under needs to drive a minibus. I think that's fair. I think that we provide enough training for that at the start of the semester. Those are well advertised. I don't think that there's any real reason to remove that, to be honest, because of the cost of a sport, cost of travelling. So, for example, even just going to Bristol on a coach, it costs about £300 to get there and back, and that's 6 people's bucks fees. So I don't think that there's any real reason to do that, but we can look at other options in terms of getting people on trains, coaches. We also, there was a problem we had yesterday with taxis, or a coach didn't show up, and it was actually cheaper to get a taxi back than a coach to Bristol. So we can look at other options, but I think that's, I don't see there being too much we can do without investing a lot more money in transport.
Okay. Like I said earlier, the student numbers are increasing, but we're not getting more money, more budget from the university. So I think, A, I want to push that because there's no reason why they can't give us more money, but B, use the current structure of budget and revamp it, give more money towards transport because students shouldn't be having to pay for themselves, and I think there definitely is scope for that.
Which students are paying for themselves? If for Bucks, is for Bucks specifically? I don't think there are any students paying for themselves for Bucks.
I thought that was the question.
Okay, so we're going to move
Sorry.
on. Yeah. Okay, so some students continue to not feel welcome in sports clubs because of the welcome socials and sometimes lad culture-esque behaviour that happens. What are you going to do to combat this once and for all?
Okay. Obviously, this is a big issue. It has got better over the years. But as a girl myself, and I've been to school, there is stuff that goes on that shouldn't go on. I would personally campaign throughout the year to ensure that there is ongoing. Obviously, to some extent, it's always going to be there, but there's definitely more things that we can do to put in place throughout the year to ensure that it's combated and that people understand that it's not okay to catcall, whatever.
And what sort of things would they be?
So set up campaigns to
Sorry, take your time.
Okay. Put up campaigns, get more people involved, get more petitions, and make more awareness of that it's not okay, and put stuff during the club nights, ensure that all the bouncers and stuff are aware, so if you do get yourself into a situation, you can get out of it, go and speak to them, and they know how to resolve it.
Cool. So a little bit of work that I've been doing this year, which was actually a suggestion from a chair from the trampolining club, was to put up like a members charter for sports clubs. So when you become a member of a sports club, we're going to put something online that when you join, you read it, and it's got like the SU's values and SU sports values as a whole. I think just creating an atmosphere where it's acceptable to call someone out when they're doing something wrong, I think is the vital thing that we need to do to remove that kind of side of things. You're right, it is getting better, and 4 or 5 years ago it was much worse. But I think that there's still more we can do, and I think it's about creating that people that are those role models that will say, actually, no, that's not okay, and call out committees on it if it happens.
But what about when these committees are organising socials and like initiations that make the students never want to go back to that sports club? How are you going to clamp down on that?
Well, I think it's often about smaller smaller groups. So I don't think a whole committee organises a social to go, actually, we're just going to really hurt people and make them feel not welcome. I think sometimes it's one or two that maybe that happens, but if we create a culture where a committee member is comfortable saying no to someone who's older, no, that's not okay, stop it, that's how we're going to make the difference. It's not going to be the SU sport officer standing up and saying, don't do that, because no one, they're not going to listen. They'll listen to their peers. Someone who's whenever you get someone saying you do this, it's not like, it doesn't work. If someone hears it from someone who is equal to them, I think that's the way we combat it.
What will you do to increase postgraduate participation in sports?
Yeah, I can go with this. I've spoken with Adam a little bit this year, who's our postgraduate officer. He's come to a GM to discuss how we can get people involved, postgraduates involved specifically. I think it's difficult because postgraduate doctoral students have a lot less time. There are some fantastic examples of committee postdoc students, but they're few and far between. So, and PGTs obviously are only here for a year, so they miss the elections. So it is a difficult subject. I think electing postgraduate representatives, similar to some clubs that have like men's representatives or women's representatives, to ensure that there's someone on the committee that is representing postgrads and potentially organising stuff over the summer. The other thing I think we can do is if we create like a little group of those clubs that have those people within them, then we can set up like kind of social sports stuff throughout the summer. When PGTs are here, we've got several thousand postgraduate taught students that stay here over the summer, and they need something to get involved with, so they can like create stuff with set stuff up between themselves, and then have that available, because obviously most committees are undergraduates.
Okay, well, back to my point about recreational sport and making it more accessible to all. A big part of it was putting on later evening sessions, because obviously postgraduates often work throughout the whole day. So putting them in more sociable times in the evenings so they can use it as more of like a release and a social time. I want to create these so that anyone can go, and a lot of them will be free. And again, I think the point about having a representative in each club would be a really good idea, because as long as then they feel that their voices are heard within committee meetings and stuff, then they'll feel more part of the community.
Okay, so Bath is currently 6th in the Bucks table. With such a good sporting reputation and excellent facilities, some don't think this is really good enough. What are you going to do to improve it?
Go ahead. I did last one.
Okay.
How gentlemanly of you, Will.
We've taken it in turns so far. I'm happy to go first.
I'm
if you-
joking.
No, it's fine. Okay, well, this is obviously down to, I think the main reason, if any, if it's our fault that they're not doing so well, is a lack of facilities. I'm sure we're going to come on to 3G pitch, but this is obviously another big thing that needs to be a big issue that needs to be addressed. The main issue here is the university not budging. The SU Sport office and the facilities over at the STV are fully on board. I think, again, this is down to getting a better relationship with the university and really pushing them for more budgets and showing them that it's just not good enough, showing them that we should be performing better, and this is presumably down to space.
There's a couple of things. So Bath invests in sport in a slightly different way. As we say, we're very limited on our facilities. Places like Nottingham, Loughborough, all of those can just have more teams, and we don't really have the opportunity to do that. Some of the work that I've done this year with the STV staff, someone who's the Bucks performance officer, is to invest in more coaching, more strength and conditioning sessions, free massage, things like that, that improves the experience and the experience of playing Bucks sport, and then hopefully also translates into better results. I think one of the biggest things is that it's money. So the cost of entering a Bucks team is several £1,000s across the year. And when you're a Bucks student, you're representing the university, not necessarily the Students' Union, although it's all organised through the Students' Union, but the university just hasn't given us any additional funding to do that. So cost of sport analysis, prove what it's worth to the university, and go from there. Realistically, we need to enter more teams to score more points, as well as do better with the teams that we've got. We've got loads of people that are going to get promoted this year. Some already have. Congrats. There's things we can do there overall, but I think, yeah.
Okay, what do you think is the current greatest weakness in the sports area, and what will you do to improve this?
Yeah, I don't mind.
I think it's the amount of extra work that is done by a lot of students that isn't necessary. There's a lot of, I think we need to come into the 21st century, as I said in my manifesto. I think that there's no reason why we need to be printing off forms, have to come to the office to collect them, and then filling them all out, and a lot of the information on there is relevant. I think that there's a lot of red tape we could cut. I think it's just generally to make life easier as a SU Sport student in order to be able to play sport, because at the end of the day, that's all that anyone wants to do.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. I think everyone in here would agree that if we can get rid of paper, that's a good thing to do. I also think that kind of continuity of club development is something that we should be focusing on a little bit more, and it's something that a lot of other universities have done. So obviously committees are here for a year, maybe 2, if you're lucky, maybe 3, but not a long time. So I think it would be really important to get a staff development position within the Students' Union that's going to focus on club development, so they'll know 5 years ago what the club was like and where it's at now and where it can go in the next 3 to 5 years. I think that would be really beneficial to clubs, having that prior knowledge of what happened in the past, what's worked for some clubs, what hasn't worked for others, and how they can emulate things. I think we need more consistency in club development.
Okay, so on to an individual question for you both. Will, you mentioned fighting for a 3G pitch by leading a student-led campaign, petitions and videos. However, this has been tried by many sports officers before you. Why do you think you'll accomplish it?
Because the university needs it to happen. Is basically it. They want to expand, they want to have more postgraduate taught students, they want to have a school of management and lots of other things besides. And the fact is that having a 3G pitch is space efficient. It just is. So we need to just make that argument that it's enough of a benefit to the student, to the university, that it's worth doing now, so that they're not halted further down the line. I think that's the biggest thing, is proving its worth.
Okay, so why hasn't this been done this year?
This year, because we had the top 10 on the gym, I actually fought to have the 3G pitch on the top 10. It came 11th, which is unfortunate, as you well know, Lucy. So I said that we should have both the gym and the 3G pitch. Sometimes you have to pick your battles, and the gym happened. It was on the top 10, and we got it. If the 3G is on the top 10 next year, why can't we get that as well?
Do you think an issue has to be on the top 10 for it to be worked on? And that's a question to both of you.
I don't think it does necessarily have to be on the top 10, but when you've said that one capital sports project is the thing that is on the top 10, I think it would have been very strange for me as a sport officer to go kind of against the team and focus on the 3G as well. I think that we can now that we've got the sign off on the gym, but yeah, I think it would have been a bit weird for me to go, actually we're going to do the 3G as well as the gym, and that's kind of against the team goals.
Okay. And your question for Izzy. You say in your manifesto that you're going to let students have their say on what money is spent on. How are you going to do this effectively? Surely everyone's going to want to have different things.
Okay, so the way the budgets have worked for the last few years is that they just keep rolling over and doing the same things. I think that the students need to be more aware that the budget is for them to spend as they want to spend it. And so each club can be different if they want to be, but they need to realise and understand where they can spend the money and how it can be spent. And I think through things like GMs, by explaining where the money is currently going and where it could be going and what pathways they can choose, then things will start to happen a lot better.
Okay. We've got time for one question then that came through on Twitter, and it's from Bath Uni Hockey Club, so thank you very much for sending that in. It says, this year our membership quote was raised, but we still had the same number of teams in Bucks competitions, meaning half of our members play in a non-Bucks team, although many of them want to play competitive hockey on a weekly basis. If elected as SU Sport Officer, or re-elected, how would you tackle this issue?
I can go on that one if you want. Yeah, that's true. There is an application for other teams coming up. So if you want to put in another application to put a Bucks team in, I've said that that's something that that's doable every year. In terms of providing, although if you don't have another Bucks team, in terms of providing for recreational sport, I think that we have done as much as we can this year to help the hockey club. I don't know who tweeted that in, but there's been additional facilities set up for them to do matches off campus if possible. Also do some events on campus as well for those recreational players. I don't know how much they've actually told the club yet, so I'm going to keep quiet about that. But yeah, I think getting more people playing is vital. And the biggest way to do that is to get the 3G pitch, because hockey's on the Astro. There's lots of sports that are on the Astro that don't need to be and could be on a 3G pitch instead. Get them off the Astro on a 3G pitch, and hockey have more time.
Okay. As I said, increasing student numbers, why aren't we getting more teams? I think it's ridiculous. I think if we're getting more students, we should get more funding and we should be able to put more teams in. I don't see why it hasn't been done already, and I think that we need to do it.
Okay, and last question. If you could introduce a dream sport into the collection of SU sports that currently exist, what would it be and why?
I answered the last one. You can go first this time.
I'm going to need a little bit of thinking time. I would...
Come on, show us your funny side.
Putting me on the spot. You go ahead.
Okay, so has anyone ever seen Nottingham and Nottingham Trent's Varsity? Has anyone seen videos of that? They have the biggest event they have is the ice hockey. So I would build an ice hockey rink in the middle of Bath and put on ice hockey. You said ideal, right?
Strong answer.
I think I'd go for the thing, maypole dancing. Do you get? It's just a bit of fun. Thank you.
Is that a sport?
Well, you have to move around a lot, and it's quite intricate.
Okay, so that brings us to the end of our questions to our sports candidates. Thank you all very much for attending. Remember that we've got president and activities candidates this evening at 6:15 in this very room, and then tomorrow at 1:15 our postgraduate and education candidates. So give Izzy and Will a big round of applause. And a big thank you to Backstage and Student Media for helping us. Thank you.